flux and Gauss law. This is the third and the last part of electric field quick review section, as we have discussed the previous two parts, and now this is the third and the last part. Come to electric flux. Electric flux, the word flux has got a synonym, flow. Right? Quantitatively, electric flux, denoted by phi, is defined as the dot product of a uniform electric field that we are considering passing through a reference area A, and over here I am even considering A as the vector entity. So what is the direction of the area vector? It is always the normal drawn outwards. Right? So this is how we define the direction of area vector. Means, in case, I must explain it here. If this is the area that we are considering in the form of a plane, and this is the normal vector, even this can be the normal vector. Right? Okay, so it is the normal vector drawn outwards from the reference area. Now, depending upon the situations and conditions, we will use a defined direction which we will discuss later on, right? So this is the basic expression of electric flux, which is the dot product of electric field vector, provided it is the uniform electric field for the given area A, and it can be written as EA cos theta, right? So generally, the electric field cannot be considered throughout uniform for a very big area. So in the more general notation, we will write electric flux as the integral of E dot dA. Means we will consider that E is uniform for a very small area dA, and for such small areas, if I am going to integrate these elements, we will get the total electric flux. And see, from this very discussion, it is quite clear, quite obvious that phi is a scalar quantity. Dot product, clear, it is a scalar quantity, right? So phi is algebraically added, and it's a scalar quantity. So, and it is represented as the dot product. Generally, it is given by this, which we have to consider, right? And going along with this, if we talk about the flux, say for a closed surface, means say there is a cylinder, right? And this is the direction of electric field for this closed surface. A complete closed surface means cylindrical surface. I have drawn here for the sake of example. Otherwise, it's a very common element, but still I am explaining it. A cylindrical element, and the electric field is passing like this in this direction, right? So, what is the electric flux associated with this element? Obviously, there is one this surface, another this surface, and for this surface the normal vector drawn will be outwards. For this surface the normal vector drawn will be outwards. This is N1, this is N2, and for the curved surface of the cylinder, the normal vectors are drawn like this, that is N3. Okay, for any kind of curved surface, it is radially outwards. If I am going to draw it in the three-dimensional way, so I can draw it like this, I can draw it like this for this cross-sectional surface, draw it like this for this cross-sectional surface. Now, see what is happening here. The E is in this direction. Here, the E is in this direction. So, if in case I am going to have the dot product here, so what I am going to get? It is E1 dot A for section 1. So I must write it as phi 1 which is E, not E1, it's E, and A1, it is E A1 cos 180, so it is minus EA1. A1 is the magnitude of this region. Even this region has got the magnitude A1, they are same in the value. So it is minus EA1. For phi 2, it is E dot. Again, the value is E1. So I am going to write the vector same as A1. So to make it a little more easy, let's say it is A2, but the A2 has got magnitude equal to A1. So it is E dot A2, so it is E A2 cos 0 degrees, so it is E A2, but A2 is equal to A1, so therefore it is equal to E A1, and sign is plus. Right, now if we are going to summate or total flux, then it will be 0 minus and plus, because this is already 0. For N3 the flux has to be 0. Okay, phi 3, let me tell you, it is E dot A3. So it is E A3. What is the value of theta now? Cos 90. And what is cos 90? So this flux value is always going to be 0, which is coming out from the curved side, and these two in total will become 0. So I can say that the electric flux, total electric flux passing through a closed surface will always be taken to be 0. So this is something that we have generated from this particular concept, from this particular theory. I hope this point is clear to you guys, and now we'll move on to the Gauss's law. Now let us discuss this Gauss's law. Now what exactly is the Gauss's law? It states that the total electric flux emanating out of a closed surface, the total electric flux emanating out of a closed surface is proportional to the charges enclosed by the surface. Say Q1, this is Q2, and this is Q3. I just have taken a closed surface and enclosed certain amount of charges in this closed surface. So total electric flux passing out of this closed surface is proportional to sum of all the charges enclosed by this surface and I approaches from 1 to n. In this case, I have just shown 3 charges. Otherwise, charges can be from 1 to any number, right? And how can I exactly represent this into the expression of Gauss's law? This is total electric flux, and I am talking about closed surface. So this is the closed surface. Electric flux is E dot dA or ds. We have already studied. It is equal to, now proportionality has been changed to equal to, that is charges enclosed divided by epsilon naught. Right. So this is how we express the Gauss's law in terms of the quantitative value of the Gauss's law, that closed surface integral of E with respect to a surface area dA is equal to Q enclosed divided by epsilon naught. In this case, since I have divided by epsilon naught, means I am considering that these charges are present in air as a medium. Suppose these charges are present in any other medium, so obviously this will be modified, and I'll write here epsilon r into epsilon naught, and rest will remain the same. There is E dot dA. Right. So there are so many things attached with it. The solid angle, how exactly solid angle is going to affect the expression, the proof of the Gauss's law, and many other such things which are directly or indirectly involved with Gauss's law that you might have studied in your boards in the board-based classes. I'm not going to explain much of it. For the insight, you really have to go through the details through your regular sections. But since I am here to just work out the quick review, so I'm just writing the statement here. Now, the applications of Gauss's law, that is again you might have done, but a bit of it in the quicker way. Let me just write it here. That is, when we are going to find out the electric field at any point on the surface of a spherically charged on a spherical shell having charge Q. Suppose there is a spherical shell. Shell means there is air inside, there is air outside, and this is just the just like a football. There is a air inside the football and air outside the football, and there is a covering. So this is the metallic covering, and the charge Q is spread over this conducting shell, and we have to find out the electric field intensity at this point having radius r. This we have done. What is the electric field at this point? Say Q. What is the odd? Say M, because we should not confuse this with this Q. And electric field at any point inside the shell. So this is what we have already done. How to use the Gauss's law. We normally draw a Gaussian surface covering that point. We draw a Gaussian surface covering that point and that body. So this is all we have done. We will draw the Gaussian surface here also, and we'll see how much charge we have enclosed within this Gaussian surface. We are going to complete it somewhat like this, right? This is what you have done in your general and regular classes. Similarly, there is a linear charge conductor, and you have to find out the electric field at any point P near this conductor. Again, you have to consider an imaginary surface. Say it is cylindrical, and you are going to get the value. Say this radius, this distance is A. It means the radius of the cylinder will become A, and you will get the value lambda by 2 pi epsilon naught into A. If you might have remember, in one of the part, I was doing it on the general basis, where I have stated that if there is any wire with these ends like X and Y, and the point is P at a distance A, then what is the electric field at this point P? So I have stated that there are two components, Ex and Ey. Because that wire is of defined length, this wire is of infinite length, then wrongly I have written here 2 pi epsilon naught into A, and then sine phi 1 plus sine phi 2, you might have seen that, and then I have given the correction even here, replace 2 by 4. So in that case, if you remember, when we have discussed that if the wire becomes infinite, over here it is 4, and say phi 1 plus phi 2 is 90 degrees, so it will become 2, and 2 cancels with this 4, it will become 2, and thus the result is 2 here. Fine. So just to give you the idea that there I have done something wrong. I have wrongly put 2 here, because back of mind quickly when we talk about these kind of expressions, so Gauss law goes into mind, and I have accidentally put here 2, but it was 4, right? And that correction I have already given in that video. So this is all about the electric flux when we consider the electric field intensity when we consider the infinite wire. Then there is a sheet, right? And for this sheet, we have done the we have got the value of electric field intensity at a point near it as sigma by 2 epsilon naught, a thin sheet, and then you have dealt about a thick sheet, conducting sheet, isolated sheet with this charges, like say I'm going to draw it like this. This will become a thick sheet. This surface will be having a positive charge, and the back surface is also going to have a positive charge, and at that point of time the electric field near this thick sheet will become sigma by epsilon naught. Even this you might have done. So all these things that we are normally doing in the Gauss's law, considering the spherical shell, considering the infinitely long straight charged conductor having linear charge density sigma, considering the sheet having the surface charge density, linear charge density lambda, and surface charge density sigma. That is the third element. This all we have done in the basic, very basic classes of the Gauss's law, and the applications are very symptomatic. Just I am now going to convert in the upcoming sections these all articles into the higher order numericals, and that is going to be very interesting. That is going to be very important. Every numerical has got a zest. We'll be discussing the cavities involved in it. We'll be discussing the other superposition elements involved in it. It is going to be amazing, guys. So let me assure you, these are the basic things. I'm not going to waste much of your time in just going through the reviews, because this you have done in your regular classes. But surely we'll be discussing the higher order numericals on the, bang on edge the moment we are going to do it. Thanks a lot. Thanks for attending this session. Take care.